Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer.
Do you know the fastest way to get downtown?
Are you walking or driving?
Driving.
Yes, that's the fastest way. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth from Blue Panther. The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth from Blue Panther is a 1 to 3 player game that attempts to recreate the drama, tension, and daring of those days following the assassination of President Lincoln, when the federal government was trying to track down the notorious villain, John Wilkes Booth. As I say, this is a 1 to 3 player game, and there are various game modes you can play. You can play players playing against John Wilkes Booth. One's John Wilkes Booth, one's a federal government. It's a cooperative against trying to find John Wilkes Booth. I have only played this game solitaire, playing as the Union trying to track down John Wilkes Booth. So let me go ahead and tell you what I think about this as a solitaire game. Now, you have kind of a canvas map that you put out, which shows Washington, D.C., which is divided up into several sections with various locations on it. And then you have various tracks leading away from the city into different parts of the surrounding states. Now, these tracks leading out also have kind of tracks between them, and you are also going to set up a number of cards. You have John Wilkes Booth cards, which you shuffle, putting a search card on top because you're always going to draw from the bottom of that deck. You have got the Stanton cards you're going to shuffle, you've got your lead cards you're going to shuffle, and you've got John Wilkes Booth's trail cards that you will shuffle. Now, you're also going to start with a couple of detectives. You draw a couple of detective cards. These detectives have specific powers and abilities, and then you're going to take the appropriate meeples that have the same number on that and place them in their starting locations on the board. You're also going to have a number of police officers that are going to start with you, and a couple of cavalry meeples as well that are going to be kind of in the cavalry depot there in Washington, D.C. Now, each game round essentially has 3 phases to it. Now, the very first thing you do on your phase is you draw a card from the trail deck and you place that down in the number 1 spot. Now, this is John Wilkes Booth's attempt to get to safety here. So you want to try to beat him before he gets all the way to the end. But you place that face down and you don't know which track he has gone on and what else the card says. Now, critically, when you put that first card down, what you're doing is eventually you'll find that in the top corner, it's going to say which track he starts on. Now, subsequently, any cards that come out, when you look up in the corner, that number, it means nothing. It's just the first card that goes down that tells you where he's going to start. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to look at your leads. Now, you're always going to have 2 active leads. If ever you have less than 2 active lead cards, you're going to put enough cards out so that you have 2 active lead cards there. Next, you're going to have a choice. If you want, you can draw 2 Stanton cards, and if you draw 2 Stanton cards, then that's it for that phase. You simply move on to the next phase. However, if you do draw the 2 Stanton cards, there will be certain abilities that you can then play. You can play these cards. You may get extra detectives. You may get some clues, chit pulls. There's all sorts of things that you may get with these Stanton cards that will help you in your quest to find John Wilkes Booth. Now, you're looking at the lead cards, and the lead cards are going to tell you where certain characters are, certain accomplices are, or certain clues are, and you need to move your detectives or your cavalry or your police to these locations in order to get those clues. Now, a lot of times when you get there, you will see it says you can pull a number of the counters from the bag. More on that later. Now, sometimes there will be some cards that don't give you anything, but you have to move, for instance, the police to a certain location before you can get rid of that card so that you can get another card that will contain the possibility of getting clues. Now, once you successfully have a detective or another character on a space with these leads, you can go ahead and fulfill that lead. What that means is you can discard it. If it's an accomplice, they're going to go to the jail. And it will have a number of clue tokens you can pull. So you reach into a bag, you pull out that number of clue tokens, and each one has a number on it, I believe a 0 to a 4. And you put that next to the first trail card. You can put it next to the first trail card and the next trail card as well if you want. But what you're trying to do is get your point value equal to the clue value above that space. Once you have that, you can flip that card over to learn where John Wilkes Booth has been. Now, as you're uncovering these clues, you're seeing where he has moved, because some of the trail cards will have him advance 1 space or 2 spaces. Some of the cards he may be hiding. Some of the cards he may move to his right or to his left, in which case, from his point of view, you're looking at these kind of lateral tracks and seeing how he's moving along these lateral tracks there as well. So you're learning exactly how he's going, and oftentimes too late because you're trying to get there. Now, if ever you uncover his location and one of your units, you can get to that location or it's in that location, then you can go ahead and conduct a search, and more on that later. Now, after you do everything in that phase, you proceed to the next phase, the second phase. Now, the second phase is going to play out very similarly, but instead of putting out a trail card, instead what you do here is you grab a booth card from the bottom of the deck. Now, these booth cards will usually either be a search card, in which case you place it face down in the search area, or a raid card that you place down in the raid area. You may draw an accomplice card, in which case that accomplice is face up in the accomplice area, and that can do some pretty nasty things to hinder your investigation. You may also get a play now card, and these play now cards will have some very unique and interesting game effects. Usually not helpful. Once in a while it may be. Now, once you lay down that booth card, you essentially can do the same steps you did in phase 1 again. You can choose to do Stanton cards, or you can choose to kind of move your guys and try to fulfill the leads and all those sorts of things. Now, at the end of that phase, you can go ahead and do it again for the third phase. This is night. You can essentially do the same things. You put a booth card out, and you go ahead and make the decision between Stanton cards or movement and fulfilling your leads and possible search and raid. Now, after you complete the third phase, you go back to the first phase, and here, instead of drawing a booth card, you draw a trail card and you add it to his trail. Now, as I say, over the course of the game, you may uncover where Booth is at a certain time. Now, when you find where he is at a certain time, if you have any of your units on there, they can attempt to search for him, because they just know his general location. They don't know exactly where he is. Now, when you're trying to search for him, what you're doing is you're adding up the search value of that particular meeple you've got, whether it's a cop or a detective or a cavalry. You're adding that up. You're adding any effects you get from any of your cards, your Stanton cards or your detective cards. You're essentially adding up all the factors that would allow you to search effectively. At the same time, you pick up a number, I think it's the top 5 from the Booth deck, and you look at them, and they will have essentially negatives to that number. So you want positive numbers, they've got negative numbers. You've got a track at the top of the board. You can keep track of where it is. And if you are on the positive side, then success, you found him. But you still have to execute a raid. So what you do with the raid is kind of the same thing. You're looking at all your raid abilities, the raid abilities of the meeple, of any cards you've got, and then you're looking at the raid deck. You're putting out all the raid deck cards and, again, subtracting that. Depending on how that raid goes, different things could happen. Your police officers may be ambushed. You may capture, you may kill Booth. Now, throughout most of the game, Booth is usually 1 or more steps ahead of you. Now, as you're laying down the track cards, once you get to a certain space, if you have not yet found him, then he escapes to freedom. You lose the game. But if you are successful in your search and your raid actions so that you can either capture or kill John Wilkes Booth, then you win! The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
All right, so there's more going on here. For instance, when you're taking the counters, you may draw an ambush that may send one of your detectives to the hospital for a few turns. You may lose a police officer. You may get the accomplice cards, which are negated if you've already got the accomplice in the jail. There's railroad movement that the detectives can use. When you're pulling the counters out, you can actually roll a die to see if you get an additional counter pull. So there's a lot of other little things going on in this game, but that's basically how you're playing The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth. Now, first of all, this production is interesting. It's Blue Panther, so you've got the meeples, which I'm never wild about meeples, and I mean you kind of want minis and stuff like that. But really, fundamentally, the game is the thing, and I'm very intrigued. I was very intrigued with how this game played. In fact, they Blue Panther reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review it. They beat me to the punch. I was about ready to reach out to them because I thought this game looked really cool. And I have to say, you've got this really cool canvas map that unfolds. I remember putting that out, and it feels like I'm looking at a map. You know, in 1865, I'm actually looking at a map there. So I thought that was really cool, and I really like that. Card quality is good. From a production standpoint, it's good. I don't think it's amazing, but it's good. Now, last year, my wife and I watched the Manhunt show on Apple TV, which was about literally what this game covers: the pursuit of John Wilkes Booth, how he was fleeing Washington after the assassination of Lincoln. And it was a very good show, although the guy that played Stanton, who is a Tobias Menzies, I think, who's a great actor, but he looked nothing like Stanton. I mean, didn't even have the beard. I was really thought that was kind of dumb. But anyway, it was a really good show, and I thought they did a very, very good job with the subject matter here. And so it was interesting. One of the reasons why I was interested in this game is because I, watched that show not too long ago, and I was thinking, oh, that's kind of a cool way to revisit it. I was very intrigued by this kind of hidden movement mechanic from a solo game. Now, hidden movement games are among my favorite. Fury of Dracula, Sniper Elite, Letters from Whitechapel. I really like games like that, which pose one person against many, and they're trying to kind of figure out where the one is. So I was interested to see how kind of a hidden movement mechanic would work with AI doing the hidden movement. And I think it works really well. It's really interesting. Where those cards come out, the trail cards come out, and then you have to use clues to see exactly if he's moving forward, if he's moving side to side, if he's stopping. Because you can start on one track and maybe end up on another one, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff that does, and that brings to the game. Really enjoyed it. Now, the leads and how you get the clues is interesting. It's nothing groundbreaking. Essentially, you get cards. You have to have one of your characters in that space, and then you resolve the card. But it doesn't need to be. I think there's a lot more meat going on with the chase itself that doesn't need to be anything special. And there's a real sense of accomplishment when you can just kind of get these things done. And okay, I clear 2 cards, I get two more cards out. So I like that a lot. I mean, it's quick, it's fun, it's good. Um, I like there's a lot of the cards bring a lot of spice and sugar to the game and a lot of variety to the game. The Stanton cards are fun, and there's that great choice. There's that great tension every turn. Do I grab the Stanton cards or do I want to move around and try to complete my leads? What do I do? And the Stanton cards give you some just great abilities you can't ignore. In fact, I think you probably need to take those almost as much as you're moving around because they're so powerful and they're so important here too. There's also attention. Again, I didn't even mention it. You can actually use your clues to put on the search deck. If you get 3 of the clue values on the search deck, you can get rid of the top search card, so you can kind of thin those decks out as well. But you want those for the trail. You need those for the trail. So there's tension there as well. It's really a great meshing of the history and gameplay, and it does it very well. At some point, I probably would like to play this with more players, see how it works as a 2 or 3 player game. But as it is right now, I'm really enjoying it as a solitaire game. I think it's just great. My only concern here is I haven't beat it yet. And I'm sure there's a way to beat it, but it is really hard. I know Ray played it. I think Ray just played it the one time, and he said it was really hard. And he played it before I did, and then I played it. I'm like, he's right. This game is really hard. So I don't know. There might be some strategies I need to look into. Maybe again, it's getting more of those Stanton cards early, but it is a tough game, and I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic that at some point I'll be able to beat it. Who would want to play an easy solitaire game? That wouldn't be any fun at all, right? So I got to tell you, I really enjoyed The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth. I think it is a very inventive and clever, and most importantly, fun journey in this historical episode. I really enjoyed The Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth. Look forward to playing it again and again. So, recommendation for the discriminating gamer on the Cody scale is 8 out of 10. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we would ask you to please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, on Twitter. Please like and follow us on social media. We would ask you to please like this video and subscribe to it on YouTube if you haven't already. We'd also ask you to please leave a thumb for us on Board Game Geek as well. Now, if you really do like what you see here on this channel, I would humbly ask you to check out my other YouTube channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, military history, books on history. I even post some of my lectures on that channel, so please subscribe to that channel as well. It would mean the world to me. And also, too, if you really do like what we do here on this channel, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. Did you know that a single ant can live for up to 29 years? I have no idea how long a married one can live. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where